Hello people, thanks for coming to my channel. If you're new to the channel, well, most people who are new to the channel should come across the introduction video, but if you haven't, I talk about a wide range of things, mostly socio-political things, but also some more light-hearted subjects. Um, I cover a lot of things, and actually this video is a little bit different because it's a little bit more personal. Now, firstly, about the lighting, I know this isn't ideal. It's not that bright, but as you can see, my overhead light there is missing a light bulb. That's because the main socket has kind of fused. I could go into the front room, which is bigger and brighter. It's also colder, and we're in the autumn now in the UK, so it's just a bit cold. So I hope you'll excuse me for putting my comfort before the aesthetic quality of the video, but yeah, as long as you can hear me okay, that's probably the main thing. I just want to talk about how I'm feeling tonight, really, because I'm being productive as I always try to be. I'm reading, I'm editing, I'm doing different things, but I'm a little bit down, a little bit. I don't want to exaggerate. I'm not super depressed, but it's just one of those times when you find yourself overthinking, you know. And for me, these videos are a little bit like I've always found writing therapeutic, so I keep a diary. I find writing to be quite therapeutic. Well, these videos, in a sense, are somewhat similar because I feel that by vocalizing how I feel on some level, it's giving some purpose to it other than just being something that I mull over and it's, like I'm moping around with my emotions. It kind of feels like I'm doing something productive with it because people can listen to this and maybe they can relate. Maybe they can figure out I'm feeling a similar way or something like that. So I won't make this too long. And there's another caveat I want to make. Most of my videos are not that personal. I'm talking more about politics. I'm talking about my views on things. That's not necessarily the same as a personal video because, there's a lot of people who have opinions on things, but they don't wade into their own private life. They have their views on things for whatever the reason is, their political persuasion, or their. Sometimes it comes down to their experience in life, but a lot of the videos that are similar to mine, they don't do that. And I'm the same. I don't tend to do a lot of personal videos. It's not that I am totally reluctant to do that. I'm quite an open person. I'm quite a confident person. But sometimes you have to be a little bit careful because if you're very open about personal life experiences on YouTube, this is what it is. Anyone can watch this video anywhere in the world, not just my subscribers. By being open, you do open yourself to possible judgment, scrutiny, and so on. And I don't really care about that in the political videos where people are disagreeing with my viewpoint. But when it's a personal subject, it is more personal. And I have had an experience recently where one of my trolls, other subscribers might know who I'm referring to, thought he could use my talking about my personal experience as a sort of green light to attack me. Now, I understand that it comes with the territory, but what I do resent is when people distort what you're actually saying and they cherry pick in order to attack you. But if it's a choice between, that's the risk versus saying nothing at all, I'm going to go with that's the risk. And, if they distort my words, it's on them. That's their problem. So one of the issues that is on my mind tonight is something I've been going through, which is this issue of ghosting. Now, I want to be very clear here. I'm not looking for advice, and I'm not saying that this is like something that's ruined my life. I wouldn't go that far. But I touched on this issue recently, and basically, I got close to a woman on eHarmony in June. I've spoken a few times about online dating. I think now I've made about 5 or 6 videos about it. I don't want this channel to become dominated by personal stuff because then it becomes something else. It goes in a totally different direction. It's kind of like the me show, and that's not what I want it to be about. It's more about just generating knowledge or sharing ideas and debate that sort of thing. If I go down a path of all my personal life, it sort of becomes like a reality channel. I don't know. It's not something I ever really wanted to do, but I'm not totally against talking about some life experiences because we often hear, young men don't talk about mental health. Well, I'm a relatively young man, 37, and here's me talking about mental health. So if I can help to break the stigma or to encourage others to maybe be confident in speaking about their problems, that's something. So this is something that has got to me a lot. It hasn't ruined my life, but it got to me. It's definitely been a dark cloud over the past 3 months, and it has been one of the most challenging experiences of my life. So a quick summary of what happened. I got close to a woman on eHarmony. This was at the end of my experience, so I'd signed up for a year. Um, even talking now, it feels good just to talk about it. So I signed up in June 21, and it expired in, July 21, and it expired in July 22. So 1 year membership. They keep trying to get me to come back with discounts, and maybe I will when I can afford it. But anyway, I wouldn't say it was a total wipeout. It was bookended by two difficult experiences. The first experience I've spoken about in another video, so there's no need to go over that again. Rather, I want to talk about the second experience. I said bookended, it was the beginning and the end. In the middle, I had some good exchanges, and I actually made a few friends um, who, it didn't quite work out that we would be partners for whatever reason, but we kind of agreed we'd stay in touch, and that's been a good thing actually. Because I have stayed in touch with those women. I mean, it's maybe not ideal because obviously you join a dating site in the hope of getting either a girlfriend or a partner, but it's I wouldn't say it was a total waste of time. I'm not going to say that because I don't think it was. If I've a regret about it, certainly I could have done without the heartache that I faced from those two difficult experiences. But the second one, so I got close to this young woman. She's a bit younger than me, but she's 27, so it's a bit of a gap. But I find women tend to be more mature than men overall anyway, but that's by the by. Um, I won't go into too many personal details because I don't want to do that. That's not really the purpose of this video. And if we ever did reconcile, it wouldn't be very diplomatic to just be talking about it so directly. But suffice to say, this was someone I got close to. She's from overseas, but she lives in Edinburgh. At least this is what she said. Anyway, we got talking, and I didn't think too much of it at first. I thought, okay, well, this is nice. We're getting on well. We seem to have a few things in common. And anyway, it was going this way, and then we started exchanging emails, and we'd planned to have a video talk, and it didn't get to that level. She did say that she had some issues with her mother insofar as her mother wanted her to be here to study. She's a student nurse. And not to basically meet guys online. Now, I do consider that this was a big factor. But basically, to cut a long story short, we were getting very close. It was great chemistry. We were flirting really, like, clearly there was something heading in a good way here. We were planning to meet up. And it was all going very well. Then she disappears. This is back in July. She just disappears. No explanation, no rejection. There was no message saying, I'm sorry, this isn't working out. Now, she did mention the thing about her mother, but her last messages were very much about, I'd really like this to work out, and give me a little bit of time and we can, rearrange the call, we can work things out. Now, at the time, I thought, well, okay, this is obviously pressure from her mother, that's what's happened. But as time has went on, it's been 3 months now. 3 months, which is a lot longer than the period we were talking. And I've certainly considered she's probably gone forever. I'm not a fool. I've realised that is probably the case. But this phenomenon of ghosting, YouTube is full of kind of life coaches and relationship coaches and people like that talking about this phenomenon. I've just listened to a lady who says that there's now a phenomenon called submarining, which is new to me. I literally just found out 10 minutes ago, which is the idea of the ghoster does come back, but they pop up like a submarine. And they even can be so manipulative that they try to put the onus on the person who's had to put up with it. It's like they're being overly sensitive. Now, if that happens, I will. I've already went through my mind what I will do if she ever comes back. It would very much depend on the tone that she takes. If she's prepared to acknowledge what she's put me through and give a very, very good explanation. I mean, I think the only excuse for doing this to someone is if you've been in an accident. Because even a family tragedy, even a family emergency, that's a distracting thing. That's a huge thing, and that's a priority, obviously. But even once that's done, you could still contact someone. I mean, it's not just a case of good manners; it's a case of consideration. It's a case of showing that you're investing in something as much as you claim to be. Um, And the thing that makes this hard is I look back on it and I think, no, I wasn't naive. She was not someone who was just doing this for a laugh or messing around. I think she genuinely did invest something in it. But what happened was she got overwhelmed. It's no excuse. What she has done is thoroughly selfish. But I do feel that that is what's happened. Doesn't make me feel any better though, because I'm the one going through this. And what I would simply say, to anyone saying, oh, well, dude, you never met her, it doesn't mean anything, I would say, with all due respect, if you haven't been through this, if you've never been through the online dating experience, then you can't really lecture others and say that they're weighing too much into it or they're naive or anything like that, because um, just because you haven't physically met someone doesn't mean that you're not weighing something into the words that they're using. And, it really bothers me actually when people get kind of self righteous and, oh, that would never happen to me, because I'd have to know that they're a real person. So on. I mean, the point and I don't want to come across as defensive here, but this is an attitude some people have. They would sort of assume, oh, well, it was a short time, it didn't mean anything. But what might seem like a short time to an outsider, they haven't seen the conversations we've had, and I'm not going to divulge them because, there's no purpose served in that. But suffice to say that we're in depth. This wasn't just a bit of flirting, it was in depth, it meant something. The word she used ostensibly suggested it meant something to her as well. She would talk about how special I made her feel and why she felt so, her words, so privileged to have met me, and so on. So this wasn't one-sided. Um, so it's been to put it bluntly, it's been a very shitty experience. It's something I really could have done without. One thing she said to me was she wanted to learn more about the culture and history of the UK. Well, I love history and I know a good bit about it. And I recall that when all those historic events were going on with the Queen's passing, yeah, I could have been explaining all of that, the history of it, the ceremony. Um, so everything really, the last 3 months, like even I was watching the original series of Star Trek on Netflix at that time. Now, I'm not really into Star Trek. I just watch it for curiosity's sake because I've been watching The Big Bang Theory and they kept going on about it, so I thought I'll just check it out. I'd sort of vaguely seen it years ago, but it's quite good. It's quite watchable. I think it was a series ahead of its time. Anyway, the point I'm making is I started that roughly the same time I met her. So naturally, what does the brain do? It connects these things. And I know if I stick that on again tonight, I'm just going to be thinking about it, which is it's a strange thing because, I never spoke to her about it. She didn't have an interest in it. I never spoke to her about it, but it was the same time. It's a bit like if you're listening to a certain song and then an experience happens and it happens at that point. It's like, yeah, it's just these things that we connect in our mind. And it's, the city of Edinburgh, like I say, that's where she lives. Edinburgh is, a city that's fairly often in the news. It's It's the capital of Scotland. It's one of Britain's most visited cities. So I can't hear Edinburgh mentioned in media or the news without thinking about her. Um, and it's just been devastating because this was not just another person that I met on a dating site. It was something deeper. And so for her to just, for whatever reason, decide that she couldn't just be upfront with me and, if she'd have thought that things were not working out, if she thought, well, I'm sorry, this isn't working out, of course it would be disappointing. Maybe I tried to talk her out of it, but that would be the situation, that would be how she felt. And if she really insisted on it, of course I would have had to accept it. That's that. I'm not going to force someone to pursue a relationship if they really don't think it's right for them. But that never happened. Her last words to me were, I really hope this can work out and I want to still try and I miss you. Things like this. Yet nothing. Now there's a small chance that she'll come back to me, but to be honest at this point, and if you ever go for this experience, it's probably healthier to just tell yourself the person is gone. Because if I know that I can't keep opening my emails and thinking she's just going to appear there. She might, but it's been 3 months. I'm realistic. Over 3 months. Probably never happen. So that's been a very difficult thing. Now, other issues going on in my life. I'm quite happy with the way this channel's going, actually, on a more optimistic note. I think the live streams recently have been very good. I enjoy interacting with subscribers, and I really, really appreciate all your feedback. It's difficult to get a time that suits everyone, but I've found that the recent live streams have went very well. I'm happy with them. So going forward with this channel, I can only work with the technology that I've got. I mentioned before I had an Indonesian friend and she mentioned some tools that you can use. I might look into that. I've been so distracted by other things, but I might look into that to see what I could do. But I have a relatively basic laptop, so I'll see what I could do with this. I've trained in journalism, so this month, next month, I really, really want to be making some headway in that because I've been busy with other things. I've been tutoring online. I teach students the English language, quite informally. It's not really, really in-depth grammar, that sort of thing. It's more conversational English, helping them to utilize their English, that sort of thing. I've been doing it for years. That goes up and down in terms of how many students I have, so it's not the most stable work. Financially, without going into all the details here, still a bit of a concern for me. I'd like to be in a better position with that. Because here's the thing, I'm in my late 30s now, and I'm young, but I'm also at a point where decisions matter. And I'm acutely aware of it, and I'm just constantly mulling over in my mind, what can I do with life right now? Because honestly, the modern world can be thoroughly overwhelming if you let it. And I think there is a lot of value in sometimes stepping back a little bit from ourselves, from our own ambition, and thinking, just take it easy. One step at a time, one day at a time. I probably worry more than I should. And it isn't great for mental health. I'm someone who perhaps overthinks. I mean, I'm reflective and I think that's a good thing. But it can also, there's a fine line between being reflective and overthinking. Sometimes I need to maybe get that balance right. But yeah, it's just a case of this is where I am now. October 2022, I'm 37 years old. Where do I go from here? I've had some big achievements in my life, which I'm genuinely proud of. I went thousands of miles to another country. I lived and worked in another country. I helped literally thousands of young people as a teacher. It's something that I'm proud of, and no one can take that away from me. At the Same time, though, I'm not. I feel that I haven't gone as far as I would have liked to at this point in my life. This is October. October 12th will be exactly 8 years since I had my charity boxing match. That's something I never really followed up afterwards, and sometimes I wonder, should I have done that? Have I left it too late? 37. In terms of amateur boxing, in terms of, for example, what I done, there's no rules against it. There's certainly guys that are fighting in their 40s, and but realistically, as you get older in almost any sports, opportunities do get thinner. That's a reality. This is not to say that you can't do things when you're older. Definitely not. There's some very physically active people, and Cobra Kai. I don't know if anyone watches Cobra Kai, but that series. One thing I like about it is a lot of the stars. Yeah, it's focused around teenagers and young people, but also a lot of the protagonists are middle-aged men. These guys, Daniel LaRusso, Johnny Lawrence, and so on. These are guys in their 50s, yet they still have it. They still, that's inspiring actually. And I know it's fictional. I know it's, but I don't think that we should have this attitude whereby you reach a certain age and that's it, life's over. That's crazy, actually, particularly as people are living longer. Time is something that fascinates me in generations. I'm a millennial, but now we millennials are sort of getting into a point where we're kind of now, we're not the newest generation, it's Generation Z. Um, but millennials are the biggest generation by numbers, actually, by demographics. So we are still a very significant generation. We are still the generation that is going to shape the world. Um, so and so will Generation Z, obviously. But it's something that fascinates me, and it's something that I'm happy to be a millennial. I mean, sometimes people associate the millennial generation with politics. That's a mistake. You can't lump an entire generation with one political viewpoint or another. Sometimes people say, "Oh, well, these millennials are all woke or they're all snowflakes or whatever." Um, Probably it's true. There's more millennials on the progressive left than there are on the conservative right. I'm a centrist. But I know some of my subscribers younger than me who would have similar viewpoints to myself. So I don't think that I think it's wrong to say all millennials are this. That's a mistake. But personally, I'm happy to be born in the mid 80s. Just I think I was born early enough to appreciate, a time before social media and everything that comes with that, but young enough to be coming of age and to be still in my 30s, well into the 21st century. So I'm grateful for that. But there are definitely things in my life I would like to improve. But, one thing I always do is think no matter how hard life gets, you have to consider that someone somewhere has it worse. So if, like me, you have these points where you're feeling down with something, like tonight I've been dwelling on what she has done to me, right? There's nothing I can do about it. There's really nothing I could do about it. Goodness knows why. Whether it's a lack of self-confidence on her part, whether she really doesn't care, whatever it is, it's beyond my control. It's beyond my control. And I'm saying this for the sake of others who are going through this thing. It's a shitty thing to do to someone. It's cowardly, it's selfish. Um, but it's beyond my control. So it doesn't help me just thinking about it, although it's very, very hard not to. But it doesn't help me. So I have to make myself as busy as possible. Keeping busy is a very, very good thing. It's a very good thing in terms of distracting your mind, in terms of not letting things that get you down. All of you subscribers, you're all going to have something going on in your life because nobody in modern society doesn't have some complication in their life in some way or another. Perhaps some of us are more unhappy than others, but I guarantee you, everyone will have at least one thing that is kind of niggling away at them and thinking this is something that needs to be sorted out. So, in that sense, none of us are really alone. We're all on this journey together, if we look at it that way. I thought there was something very poetic in the Queen's State funeral, and this is obviously something that I remember The Crown featured this. They had an episode on the passing of the Duke of Windsor, and the line was, let me try and get this right. It was in this in the sentient life, or in this transitory life. That was it. So this idea of it, it's kind of a religious thing, but it's as the Queen's coffin was being lowered, the Lord Chamberlain, I believe it was, read those lines, and Baron Parker is the former head of MI5 actually, but it's very poetic, but it's also very thought provoking. In this transitory life, even someone as important as Queen Elizabeth II was still just a human being. Ultimately, just a human. She was just a person with flaws. She would have had frustration. She would have had, it's easy to forget that in the last few months with all the eulogies and all um, the revered way in which she was spoken about. The Queen was ultimately just a woman. She was a person, a flawed person. There would have been times she had her off days, but she was such a respected figure because she handled it so well as a constitutional monarch. Um, I find that interesting. This idea of a transitionary life, because we could die at 30 or we could die at 100. Ultimately, we all go in the same direction. Now, that shouldn't be, I don't think that's something to be depressed about. I think that's something that's actually kind of not reassuring, but it's thought provoking. Thought provoking. Sometimes, when we worry about the things in this life, we have to think, well, actually, ultimately, we all we're all born, we all live, and we all die. Wherever your faith is, that's what it is. So sometimes we have to just stop worrying and just live for the moment, live for the day. I'm always telling myself that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. I know there are things in my life that I want to do better. I think always looking at self improvement, always analysing yourself. What can we improve? What can we develop? That's not a lack of confidence. That's actually just practical. It's practical. Um, it's how we become better people. Yeah. Okay, folks, thanks for watching, and I'll try and do another live stream soon. By the way, about the personal things, I don't mind people asking questions, but I'm not going to make this a running thing with my channel for the reasons I said. I'll occasionally feature it just because something's on my mind, and I mentioned that I think it's important for people to talk about mental health issues. But at the same time, I don't want to dominate my channel. It is what it is. And I've no interest, by the way, although she's hurt me and although I'm frustrated with what she's done, I'm not interested in sort of shaming her publicly or something like that. That's why I'm not revealing her name or pictures of her or anything like that. And I wouldn't do that. I don't really gain from that. Um, you know, Rather it's the experience that I want to talk about. Okay, thanks for watching, people.